California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association. You know, sometimes you find treasure in the most unexpected place. For example, heading east on the I-10 out into the California desert, things look pretty deserted. Lots of open space. Not a lot of people live there. But of course, those who do live there are an independent, hardy bunch. You gotta be tough just to survive the heat and the terrain. And that's what this adventure is all about. We're gonna spend the whole day in a little place in the desert that's full of history and lots of nice people. A place that for over 75 years now has been a fine example of California's gold. Now, we had driven about 150 miles east from LA. It was hot, well over 100 degrees. And I didn't think we were ever gonna get there. But then, off in the distance, we saw something. Was it a heat mirage, or was it real? Well, we took the exit, which, by the way, had a sign on it letting everyone know the next gas was 70 miles away. Crossed over the freeway, and there it was. Trees, buildings, a big flagpole, a cafe, a gas station, a convenience store, a Foster's Freeze, lots of cars, and lots of big rig trucks. Generally, lots of activity. And there was no doubt about it. We had arrived at Shurako Summit. Okay, this is exciting. Our adventure begins with the truck coming by. Lots of trucks here, lots of activity here, a lot of history here, and here is our tour guide right here. I've known this lady for a long time. Introduce yourself to everybody, Margaret.
Margaret Shurako Roche.
Okay, now we've kind of set this up. We've pulled in off the 10 freeway. We're out in the middle of the desert here. Blythe is 60 miles that way. The desert cities, Palm Springs and Indio and Palm Desert, they're 60 miles the other way. We're in the middle of, well, I don't want to say nowhere, but we're kind of alone out here, aren't we?
We call it God's country here.
All right, and it's a little warm too. It's about a little over 100.
I tried.
All right, now this place dates directly back to two people named Ruth and Joe, your parents.
My parents.
Tell us the story of how this place came to be.
Well, my dad came out from Alabama to see a game played with Stanford, Alabama and Stanford.
A football game.
Football game in the late 20s. My mother came from Minnesota to be a nurse, and she worked first at La Jolla. Anyway, as it came to be, my dad worked he never left, never went back home. He stayed in Los Angeles, worked for the Department of Water and Power, and eventually came out to work for the big aqueduct that was taking the water from the Colorado
Water District aqueduct,
the Colorado River to Los Angeles. And during that time, he met my mother at the hospital in Indio, where she had ended up doing some special work.
Love at first sight. They met in the desert.
It truly was. He was dark and Italian. She was blonde and blue-eyed Norwegian. It was
natural attraction here.
It was, and they courted for 2 years. But my dad, during that time, decided he was going to go into business here at this area, this desert area.
Now, wait a minute. That in itself was a huge decision. How did your dad
a leap of faith.
Pick this place, because it was literally...
Well, it's the highest point between Indio and Blythe. Its elevation is 1742.
But there was nothing here.
Nothing here at the time he started.
Except the highway, and you said we're standing.
And the highway actually wasn't even going through here at the time.
But this is where eventually Highway 60 ran right up and down here long before the freeway.
Exactly.
Okay, so your dad came out here and said, I'm going to build a Shangri-La out here.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
And what was the Shangri-La? What was that first structure?
A couple of gas pumps and a store, a little store.
Is this where it was?
Exactly.
Right here?
The store was here, and the pumps were right there, kind of where those flowers are.
And what made him think that he could make a go of it out here?
Oh, he was just a stubborn Italian. He probably says, I'm going to do it, and he did.
Was he an eternal optimist?
Of course, of course.
And
my mother, too.
How did he talk your mom, or was your mom an equal partner in her enthusiasm from the early days?
Huell. You know how it is when you're in love. You follow them anywhere.
Yeah.
So she followed him, and her people thought it, too, to the ends of the earth.
And so they moved out here and not only opened up a gas station, they ended up living here. Day in and day out here in the middle of nowhere.
And then as the children grew, you know, we had some little cabins. We call them little cabanitas, and we lived there for a while. And then the war came, the big war, and he moved us to Redlands for part of a year, and then we moved back.
But he always stayed out here.
He always stayed, yeah. He always
so
stayed.
This, from the very early days, in those early days, was there much traffic out here? Was there much business out here?
Sometimes. It depended, you know, like what you had going at the time. During the war, it was huge. It was packed.
Lots of traffic up and down this road.
Yeah. Then it was quiet, you know, more quiet in the 50s. And then, you know, came other of the utility pipelines and things that traversed the desert. And we had construction people that would a Kaiser mine opened.
So over the years, it was kind of up and down.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But he and his wife stayed.
Oh yes, and raised us. And probably had she not been a nurse, it might have been harder. But you know, she knew we were 4 rowdy kids, and they took us back and forth to school in Indio, and
every day.
And then my mother learned to drive when she was 40-some years old. Then she started driving us. So I tell you, it's been a real experience to live here.
This story sounds almost too good to, or too strange or too wonderful or whatever to believe.
I know.
Out here in the middle of nowhere, this family came in search of the California dream.
And gold. And
they found it.
And they found gold.
Okay, we've come inside. It's cooler already. Margaret is holding my soft drink as well, because I've got a microphone in one hand and I've got a 75 cookie in the other. And these are cookies made by...
This is made by Kim Jones, one of our good friends, my granddaughter Cecilia Garcia, my great niece Melissa Hahn, and my other granddaughter Teresa Garcia.
So you all made these 75th, and let's get a nice shot of these things. Look at these. I'm not sure how the airplane fits in.
Airport.
There's an airport here?
Yeah, you could have flown in, Huell.
I didn't realize that.
And Foster Freeze.
We got the whole cookie thing.
Match.
Here it is. Shurako Summit 1933. Thank you, ladies. You can continue handing out these homemade cookies, because this is all part of a big party you're having.
Absolutely, Huell. Our 75th anniversary.
And if you didn't pick that up from the 75 on the cookies, you can pick it up from show us your blouse. Don't get too provocative. Open up, let's see your blouse here.
See it all right?
Can I pull it up just a little bit? 75th anniversary, established 1933.
Okay.
So this is the big party that you've invited us to for your 75th anniversary on the exact day.
Yes, and I believe it's just as hot now as it was then.
So this all started on August the 15th, 1933.
You got it.
Now, we got here just in time for the party. We drove up. There was a big celebration going on outside. What was that all about?
Oh, on the blessing by the priest, Father Jack from Coachella, came and blessed in our little shrine area, our God's outpost.
And then you made a little speech.
Yes, a little speech.
You had a few people in attendance. These are family and friends and regular customers. All right, and then we moved in from that little ceremony outside to the food table in here. People were lining up to get food, and that's part of your history here as well.
That's what we're about, food. We're Italian, we're about food. And we've got homemade tamales. You know how Italian they are.
Yeah. Was that part of the calling of your mom and dad? Did they just open up a gas station? When did the food come into?
No, at the same time. They had some sandwiches and breakfasts and things like that.
Homemade stuff?
Oh, yeah.
By your mom?
Yes, yes, always. She was a wonderful cook. She had the Norwegian style of cooking. It was delicious, plain food, but delicious food.
Well, that must have been a real surprise for people pulling into this remote place to have this wonderful home-cooked food.
Oh, it was. And of course, we've always prided ourselves on our hamburgers. I know as corny as that sounds, but you know, we got 5 stars for the airport hamburgers. They do a special thing for pilots, and it's a 5-star burger.
Wait a minute, you keep talking about the airport. I've been coming here for years. I never knew there was an airport.
Oh, please don't make me walk up there. But it's just a few feet beyond that old station out there, and it's there. It's a Riverside County Airport, built by General Patton in 1942, used by the World War II military trainees in the Desert Training
Is it still
Center.
an operating?
Oh, absolutely.
People still land?
On the weekends, lots of people land here.
We're in luck. We looked over here at the airfield and we saw 2 planes and a lot of people who look like they're getting ready to take off. What's the deal here, fellas? We've been hearing about this airport all day.
Well, we've always fly out here, so we wanted to stop by on their open house or their
for their 75th anniversary.
Right, so
I've never heard of this airfield before. What is this? The Summit International?
You got it. No, I'm a flight instructor, and these are all pilots also. And I bring my students out here on cross-country flights.
So this is a good, straight, simple, straight-shot airport.
Exactly.
How long has this thing been here?
I was here during the World War II.
You think General Patton used this airfield?
Yeah, I believe he did.
Wow.
Well, or the military did, the Army
Well, it
did.
sounds good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Do many people know about this airport, that it even exists?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's coming. It's on the chart.
It's on the map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So,
it's in the $100 hamburger book.
what does that mean?
A $100 hamburger book is it costs you $100 to fly somewhere and get a hamburger and then go back in the afternoon.
And
so
that's what you do here?
That's what you do. Fly to Shurako Summit from Redlands, beautiful Redlands, California.
Get a hamburger.
Have a hamburger.
Turn around.
Shurako Summit and go home.
It sounds to me like something for the idle rich to be doing.
Well, I'm soon to be part of the idle poor.
Okay, we're standing here in the midst of all this commotion here with Heather. You are Joe and Ruth's granddaughter.
Yes, I am.
And you and your husband run this place on a daily basis.
Yes, we do.
So this is a little unusual today. You don't have quite this amount of activity every day, day in and day out, do you?
No, just on weekends.
Well, but even on weekends, it's not this crazy.
It gets crazier than this.
What's it like living here day in and day out? Because you have a certain history to uphold, a certain tradition to uphold that was set by Joe and Ruth 75 years ago.
Right. We try and serve the traveling public. When my grandpa always wanted us to help people that that ask for help, people that run out of gas or have mechanical problems. You just have to help them. Somebody comes in and says they're hungry and they don't have any money.
So you never know who's going to come in or what their story is going to be. That's an interesting part of being here day in and day out.
It is. Every day is different. We have regular customers they've come in for years. We get new customers all the time that say, "Oh, I passed here a million times and I've never seen this place." So.
And what's it like for you living here day in and day out?
Well, it's a little bit challenging. My husband and I, we've raised 4 children here, and it's transporting them to school and to activities takes some planning, doing our grocery shopping, and just living our day-to-day lives, because we're about 40 minutes away from the doctor, from the grocery store.
But you know what? You are carrying on that tradition.
I know. It's sometimes it's a little overwhelming, especially when you know we realize you're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm sort of in charge of the computer end of the deal. We've got 3 POS systems, so
but you have a computer out here. Joe and Ruth didn't have anything like that.
So
they
true.
probably didn't even have phone service, did they?
No, I grew up using a crank phone. I'm probably the only 45-year-old person in the state of California that knows how to work a crank phone.
We spent almost all of our summers up here waitressing, bussing tables, cooking.
What was that like?
It was a lot of fun. Learned how to flip an egg in the pan, and we just had a lot of fun out here.
Did you meet a lot of interesting people who stopped by off the highway?
Oh, yes.
What do you mean by, oh, yes?
Well, I think I got invited to go with a truck driver to Arizona when I was 16.
You didn't go, did you?
No.
And do you have anything to top that?
I remember when the Hells Angels came through.
Oh my God!
And I was about 8 or 9 years old, I think. Yeah.
There are no pictures of that in the album, are there?
No, but I do remember my one uncle shuffling all of us into the back room.
To protect you against the Hells Angels.
Hells Angels, yes.
Another chapter in the history book. Introduce us to this young man right over here, Margaret.
My grandson, Victor Garcia.
Nice to meet you, sir. So you are the great-grandson of Joe and Ruth. And you are here to talk about, and let's get over here. Herb, you're part of this too. Tell us what we are looking at right here.
Well, it's a 1931 Model A, two-door sedan.
But wait a minute, it's not just a 1931 two-door sedan. This
belonged to Joe Chiriaco.
This was their car.
It was part of our families and became mine. And yeah.
So you know this car?
Oh yes, I've known it for a lot of years, and it was a real old rusty dog for a while until this summer, and it got all spruced up.
So you, part of the celebration of the 75th anniversary was to fix up this car.
That's right. We worked about 10 hours a day, a lot.
You and Victor did.
That's right.
And you have a special attachment to this car too, don't you?
Right. I tried to buy it from Joe 35 years ago, and he wouldn't sell it.
He wouldn't sell it?
Yeah. And then about 5 months ago, I came by, talked to Margaret, asked her if she still had Joe's Model A. She said she did, and you can see what happened.
So you all hold on to things in your family, don't you?
Yeah,
you don't turn loose of anything.
We don't. It's ours.
You're desert pack rats.
Once you're here, Huell.
And how hard was it to do all of this, Victor?
Well, when I started out, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about Model A's, but Herb's a really good teacher. He really taught me well.
And you got to be motivated by the fact that it's such an important part of your family's history.
Yeah, that's true. Just knowing that it was my great-granddad's and then it was my grandma's that really motivated me to restore it for them.
So wait a minute, he's the great-grandson, not the grandson, he's the great-grandson.
Exactly. Yeah, so his mother is 4 generations. Wow.
And the car covers them all.
That's right.
Exactly.
Does the thing work?
Hey, you heard it. Did you hear it crank up?
No.
Oh, come on. Can you
we crank it up?
Let's go for a ride.
Here we go. Hold on to this. Hold on. Oh, hold on tight. History lives. The car drives. We're riding off into the desert sunset.
Like a Rolls Royce, Herb.
It's time to introduce another old friend, Margaret.
Yes, this is Eileen Highmark Ferrister.
And you go way back with this family.
Way back.
So far back that you used to spend the night in this house, which is now a post office.
Absolutely.
What was it like for you coming out here to visit and spending the night out here?
It was always exciting, always fun, always something to do, and always something different.
Did you feel like you were coming out to the middle of nowhere? Was that part of the adventure?
No, I never felt that way. It's the desert.
She learned to drive here, Huell.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I did.
Because you didn't have to worry about hitting anything, did you?
I did, though.
But she did hit something.
What did
the very first time I drove, we were on the airport because that was straight. But then I had to come back, and I had to come around a chicken coop. Well, I turned, but I never straightened out. And I went right in and crashed through the chicken coop, killed a chicken.
Oh, God. And she was scared of my dad.
I got out and I ran. I was going to run up the desert. I was crying. And her dad came, and he was so sweet.
There are more stories
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Nice to meet you, and thank you. You came out for the big party.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're here, though, to talk about this house.
Okay.
Because this house is more than just, today it's a post office,
Exactly.
but historically this was...
Where we grew up.
This
where
was
we were
the
raised.
family home.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Wow, and it's called the
Choya
house because...
The giant choya, skeletal parts of the giant choya.
So originally your dad built this house out of choya cactus.
No, we just added this
Oh,
on.
it's a renovation.
Believe it or not, it's a renovation.
All right, let's go inside and visit the old home place.
Okay, let's visit the old homestead.
This is where you grew up.
Yep, this is it. This is our living room. Those are our bedrooms.
Wow.
Our one bathroom for 6 of us, my dad, mother, and 4 children.
And now you use it for what?
Well, it's Diane's desk. We count the money here. Oh, we shouldn't tell them that, should we, Diane?
So this is your office.
There's Diane.
And come on over here.
Now we do the paychecks here. This is my office.
Now, what did this used to be when you all lived here?
This was the sleeping porch.
Oh,
and it
wow,
wasn't
look
screened
at
in. It was screened in. There was nothing, just posts. And we had 4 cots lined up.
Wow.
And the 4 of us slept here. And Huell, you'd love this. When the cars went by on the, their lights would flash. And
That's back when it was the Highway 60.
Yeah, and we'd make hand puppets all over this wall. It was so much fun. I mean, you find ways to have fun. We didn't have television. We didn't have iPods or iMan or whatever in the world they are.
How do you feel about it when you come into this room today? It's got to be filled with memories for you.
Well, it is, but it's also the place where I work, witness, and it becomes your workplace. But I guess all of that is part of the big picture. You never forget totally, but it's, it isn't first thing in my mind.
But it's where your parents started their dream.
Exactly.
Now it gets even more interesting because when you visit Shurako Summit, here's the restaurant. We're standing right behind the restaurant right here. Most people never come back here and see this. And when I say see this, there is kind of a little town here, a little community here. And here to tell us about it, introduce yourself to everybody, Bob.
I'm Bob Chiriaco.
Another Shurako. There are a lot of Shurakos out here.
Yeah, I'm the last one with the last name Shurako.
Shurako. Okay, and you've been here all your life.
I was born here.
Raised here.
Yeah.
Live here now.
Yes.
Right in this little house right back here.
Right here behind us.
And what was it like, to live this far out in the middle of nowhere?
Oh, let's see, Huell, it was, it had really great days and some really off days, but it was a good place to be at.
Did you run through the desert?
Oh, yeah, we used to have Model A, and we could run out in the desert whenever we felt like it. And we did a lot of running around. We had a horse at one time. We used to ride back and forth to Cottonwood Springs.
And what about your social skills, interacting with other people? Was this a good
Well, we all
place?
went to school in the valley, Coachella Valley. We went to high school down there, and we rode a bus back and forth, and we were all fairly active in school. My sisters were in the political side of it, and I played tennis and stuff. We weren't, we did as much as we could because our parents were very supportive of getting us back and forth.
Now, was it easy or hard to get friends from school to come out here and visit with you and stay the weekend and all that?
People came out all the time.
They probably thought this was a great adventure.
Shangri-La to them, I don't know. It was a lot of fun. People came out here with us all the time. My sisters brought their friends and I brought my friends. We had wonderful weekends.
It's a nice family community right here.
It is like a family. How many people live out here? Has there been a census done out here lately?
I'm not sure on that one.
Are we talking 20, 30, 40?
I bet there's probably 40, 45 people living here.
Living right here?
Yeah.
Official citizens of the summit?
Yeah. Yeah, that I can think of.
Give or take a few.
Right, give or take a few.
It has been a long day.
Oh, yes, and hot.
And hot, but the celebration is just about over, and we're going to end it by walking back into this part of the Shurako Summit that not many people know. This is the family compound back here. There's your garden, there's your lovely house here, and then we walk further on back and we got this whole living area back here. And what's so interesting about this story is that you and your two sisters and your brother were born here, you were raised here, you were married here, you raised your families here, and you still live here today. And this is just another example of a part of Shurako Summit most people never see, but this is where you live. This is the heart and soul of this place.
That's right, it is, and it keeps us cool in the summer.
Well, it's a long way from what your parents had, from what Joe and Ruth, they never had a swimming pool out here.
No, we didn't. We didn't have enough water, and it didn't happen like this.
This is your sister. Give us a wave.
Give us a wave.
Your
Hi,
name, your sister's name?
Pauline.
Pauline.
Yes.
So she's here. Wait a minute, here's another sister right here. Hi, your name is?
Norma.
And you were telling me about your mom and how she used to work so hard here.
Yeah, well, that's what we all remember about her. She just worked from dawn to dusk, and she was a great lady.
Do you think she'd be proud that the place has survived and thrived?
She would just be ecstatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, happy 75th.
Well, thank you very much.
This has been a wonderful day, and I got to tell you, this is a true California dream that your parents started here that has survived all these years.
I believe that is true.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you were able to join with us on this celebration day.
Well, it's gotten kind of quiet now all of a sudden, but you know, this place still has their spirit here, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm sure they were with us today and just having a ball. Just
you know,
having a
the
great
wonderful part of this story is that there's so much more here than just meets the eye. It's so much more than just a rest stop along the freeway where you pull in to get gas and a hamburger and a restroom break. This is your parents' dream.
It is their dream, and now it's our dream.
Yeah. Well, it's the California dream. This wonderful place called Shurako Summit. George Patton was here.
That's right.
Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people have stopped here over the years and continue to stop here and spend some time at this wonderful little place right out here in the middle of the desert called Shurako Summit that is still very much a part of California's goal. Shurako Summit. It's much more than just another stop on the side of the freeway. It's a fine example of California's gold. And if you'd like to go on this Shurako Summit adventure again, share it with family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library. It's available on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.